Hello and welcome back to Jack Knives Reviews. I'm of course your host, Jack Knives, and welcome to this year's 2025 holiday special. Generally, when I try to do these specials, I either focus on a movie that is centered around the holiday or focused on the holiday festivities, or on occasion I'll just do ones that kind of feel right for the season. But this time I decided to do something slightly different. There was a movie that was coming out. I saw it, and I thought maybe this might be the movie I'm thinking of to get me in that mood of the warmth of the holiday. And this is a movie that truly encapsulates the warmthness of what you would expect. So for my final review of 2025, let's take a look at Rental Family. Philip Vanderplow is an amateur actor living in Japan booking various jobs for goofy products and commercials. His agent gets him a golden opportunity to be a part of a rental family service, essentially being a stand-in for people in need of fathers, brothers, and friends. Through his experiences, he learns more about what relationships truly mean and help him discover who he is and how he can be a better person. I've sung the praises of Brendan Fraser time and time again, having his post-renewal after the movie The Whale came out, and even though I didn't particularly much like it as much as many people, his performance in it did revitalize not only his career, but how people saw him as an actual actor. And I was hoping to see more roles in his repertoire that would allow him to push limitations of his style of acting. Honestly, this movie does a lot to help solidify that, but the movie itself is not just a Brendan Fraser movie. The scenes, the crafting, the writing, the structure, the actors. This is, for me, a close depiction of what I feel when I think of Japan. Not the romanticized version of Japan that we've come to see throughout media and throughout pop culture and the blending of anime styles into Western culture, but the actual feel of Japan. I feel like this is a perfect movie that encapsulates the feeling of what it means to really be a gaikokujin, or foreigner, in Japanese society. But it doesn't do it in a way of painting by numbers and just having them, whoa, this is wacky. Doing it in a genuine, heartfelt way. Getting to see different actors play off of each other and getting to see different aspects of society, from traditional weddings to issues with businesses to issues with relationships, fathers and parental children in general, bonds that are actual foundational structures really heavily centered in Japan culture, to be pushed to a limitation that is not really something we as a society in America can actually relate to as much. Sure, we have the societal pressures of expectation, but not from anything more than our own feeling, I guess. Whereas in Japanese culture, it's very much deep-rooted in their culture of expectation. You need to be this, you need to have this, you need to do this. And that pressure builds and builds and builds, and it does become overwhelming. It doesn't help that, as they explain in the movie respectfully, mental health is not a thing that is as prevalently acceptable as it is in Western culture. So a service like a rental family is seen as a normal thing. It's odd, but it's a normal thing, as opposed to going to a therapist. I know that sounds really kind of weird. I mean, like the idea of renting a person to basically be a seat filler in your life for an extended period of time in an almost clientele-clientee relationship with like no strings attached. But for that to be okay, but sitting down and talking about your feelings not being okay, shows the pressure that Japanese culture actually does put on not only its citizens, but its generations and its foundation of a traditional culture. It's understandable why they are the way they are, And I feel this movie truly explains, at least for non-understandable people like myself who know this stuff already, to be able to actually kind of digest it, kind of understand it. That's the whole point of media, is to try to allow different cultures and art and things to blend together so we're all on the same page. And I feel like this movie does it perfectly for the Japanese culture, as far as from the perspective of a foreigner who's trying to make this place his home. There's a couple of actors in this movie that stood out to me because I've seen them in other roles, and in the same way with Brendan Fraser, getting to see them flex their acting muscles and their ability to draw from not only their real life experiences but their performances really elevates this movie into just being a basic fish out of water movie. Because the problem with a lot of fish out of water stories is that they really focus more on the person and not the person blending, which is what it's supposed to be. One of the biggest standouts from this production were Takehiro Hira, who plays the director, who basically explains how the whole rental family thing works. He also kind of becomes a likable character in his own right. In a way, he's kind of trying to help Fraser's character just kind of blend into the understanding of what his role is, wanting them to not get too deep into the role. And in this case, the role being whatever the client needs. The importance is that you don't get invested, and in that way, it's a thing that a lot of people don't really quite understand. Japanese culture itself has a long history of dealing with self-loathing and loneliness itself being an almost epidemic for a long time in Japanese culture. I've touched upon it before in one of my hypothetical videos, but it truly is a thing that's still prevalent today, although it's a little more accepting than it was many, many years prior. At this point, Takehiro has done so many roles, I would dare say he's probably like the go-to Japanese actor if you need for a movie or role or performance. He was in Monarch, Captain America Brave New World, of course Shogun, and a movie I might talk about later down the road in the upcoming year. But each performance he gives adds a level of credibility to an otherwise normal average movie. This is not a normal average movie. As I said before, the cast really, really elevates this, and it feels real. It feels like a drama, but it feels like a well-paced, heartwarming drama. One of the other standouts is Mari Yamamoto, who plays Aiko. She is slowly becoming another actress who I'm seeing more and more, and I'm appreciating more and more for what they bring to the performance. She has this matter-of-fact way about her, kind of holding no nonsense. In a way, it kind of brings Philip, Brendan Fraser's character, down to earth, kind of trying to navigate exactly what he's doing wrong. And she's no problem just telling him you're wrong. Another kind of surprising performance was Helen Sadler, who played Sonia. I know most people have never really seen her work, or maybe they have, but they don't realize it. She's mostly known for voice acting. And generally when you're primarily a voice actor, you don't really get that many acting chops as far as on camera. For what little she's in, she does a lot with what she's given. And I kind of want to see her more performances, honestly. Catalog of things she's done range from video games to cartoons to anime. Tons of different credits that she's done works for. I feel like this could be a launching point for her in a possible role for doing live action work. But one of the main praises should be going to Shannon Mahina Gorman. She plays the little girl named Mia. Her dynamic with Philip is some very genuine, well-paced, well-structured, of a good back and forth. In fact, that's generally what this movie is. It's a lot of scenes of Philip communicating with different people, understanding the culture, and trying to blend in. Even though he knows, and we all know, that not only does he not fit in, he's at least trying. And some people give him a chance, some people don't. But it's about the experience and about how it changes and makes him better and makes everyone else's lives better. This movie was made by an artist named Hikari, who is primarily known for doing more dramatic roles, more writing and structuring of things dealing with Japanese culture. And I feel like they are the perfect person to make this style of a movie, because it is truly trying to get a worldwide audience, and primarily a domestic audience for the US, to understand a little bit more of Japanese culture, while also making the realization that you're never really going to understand all of it. And that's okay. The movie feels like being in a very cold, frosty winter and having a very well-structured ramen bowl right in front of you, ready to eat. And that feeling of warmth slowly shifting the coldness into the warmth is basically what this movie is. And I feel it's the perfect kind of movie to enjoy or to watch, to feel a warmthiness about yourself. And it's highly, highly recommended. And it will definitely be one for my personal collection. I give Rental Family 5 out of 5. Well, we hope you had a great year with us here at Jackknives Reviews. We had a lot of fun making great reviews, recommendations, and hopefully giving you a couple chuckles and some good moments too. From all of us here, including Ein and me, we just want to say, hope you have a happy holiday, great new year, and can't wait to do more reviews next year. Till then, we'll see you next year.